If you have that random bag, bin, or shelf of forgotten items or intentionally put off art supplies that you've just avoided, this is your week to pull them out and take a look at them. In this week, we'll be looking at this bin of stuff plus many other things because we are moving on from Loose Papers Week to Use It Up Week. Well, we'll be starting with this bin, which is actually much bigger and heavier than I remembered it being. We also have 5 other subjects that I'll be touching on this week that I think you'll find interesting. This bin was in a motorhome or maybe a fifth wheel that my dad was given, and he just gave it to me as the whole package. I knew there was some acrylic paint in it, and I could see that there were some wooden blocks, but I had never opened this bin, and it had been at least 3 years since he gave it to me. So I had no idea if anything in it would still be even good. Plus, it had been in that fifth wheel or motorhome for a while, so I'm sure it had gone through freezing and thawing stages, which isn't great for paint, but I figured we'd open it up, see what was salvageable. I was curious about these little bins, and ironically, they have hinges and little catches on them that aren't perfect. In fact, some are missing the catches, and I had just put a whole little bag of these tiny little hinges and the catches that go on these boxes in a giveaway box at my grandma's house that I'm still trying to get through. You guys, if you've been around a while, you know I inherited my grandma's house. Still trying to go through all that stuff because I just don't take the time to leave town and go deal with it like I should. But ironically, yes, bins and catches that I would need to make these little boxes intact again, still in that giveaway box, which is still at her house. So the next time I go down there, I'll grab them out and maybe I can fix these little boxes and paint them. And then I was looking at these flowers because I figured, hey, I'll just put them out in my yard. And I was going to look and make sure that they wouldn't be invasive or anything to this area first. But then a couple of wooden things that I'm not really interested in. And just a lot of acrylic paint. There's some twine. It's waxed twine. It's actually really nice, so I'll put that away somewhere. Anyway, mostly just random stuff, but a lot of paint. There were some paint brushes, none of them very good. Maybe 1 or 2 that were pretty decent at first, I thought, but then I started to use one and the paint and stuff started falling off the handle. But anyway, we'll look at them, see if any of them are worth keeping or not. I got to the bottom of the bin with some patterns and just some trash. I threw that away, and this is all the acrylic paint that was in there. So now to go through it and see what is good and what isn't and what I want to keep and not. I could tell immediately that some things were completely dried up. Didn't even have to open this package to be able to tell that. Plus you can squeeze it. It's hard as a rock in certain places and very empty actually because it's all dried up into one little clump. That one you can see the clump that it has dried into inside. It was kind of a relief actually that some of these were just instantly and immediately identifiable as bad because I didn't have to try them out. I could just toss them, and I have to tell you, when you're going through a bin like this, it's kind of a relief just to have a few things that you can toss without having to put a lot of effort into it. And I thought this one was worth noting. This was Liquitex Artist Color, and Liquitex is a high quality brand, and it looked like maybe I could mix it up and reconstitute it, so I am going to give that one a try, see if I can get that back to working order. So I put them in color order, and then I'm just kind of going through them individually to see if they're any good. Now, some of them just have dried paint on the top that you can actually pull out. It kind of dried down in a cylindrical fashion down into the tube, but all the rest of the paint seems okay inside. So those are salvageable if I so choose. And some are just good right from the beginning. They don't really have anything dried out in them, which I find pretty interesting. In fact, the metallic watercolors, that entire bottom row, are the ones that fared the best in this whole little experiment, if you want to call it that. One of them was this spray can of brilliant gold, and I was excited. I was really hoping this one was still good because I have a use for it. So I tested it out on this paper, and it looks good. I'll be able to use it. And this tube here was the only one that was still brand new. So I opened that up just to make sure that the paint inside was still all right and tried it out. And it looks like that one will be very usable as well. I stirred up and tried out the Liquitex Metallic. That silver is quite pretty, and it mixed itself back together just fine. So that's another very usable color. Then I got these blocks out because I was hoping to make little painted puzzles out of them, but they are all completely different sizes than each other. Some aren't even cut square, so there's no sense keeping these for that kind of project. I just put them in our burn barrel for now. These little figurines are in rough shape. Parts of them are even broken, so I just trashed those. And here's a closer look at the little wooden boxes. See, they need a little clasp to keep it closed. They need sanded, painted, or stained, but I think putting a little scene on them would be really fun, and then maybe selling them with your little painted scene. So that's the plan, is to go get those clasps I told you about at my grandma's house, fix these up real nice, and paint little scenes on them. I don't know when I'll do that, but eventually. So for now, I'm just grabbing them and I'm going to put them back in the closet of a lot of items. Looking, trying to find a good place for them, and decide that right over there with the acrylic, kind of right below my acrylic paint shelf, is the place for them today. But I do have some other stuff I need to use up, so I am walking to a different room of the house where I have in this closet a bunch of canvas. And while I do have some really high quality canvas in there, I decided I wanted to use a couple of these Artist Loft canvases to start with, because I have no idea if this paint is going to be any good, but I am going to get a whole background of paint done on one of these more affordable canvases. So back to the studio I go, where all that paint is out on the desk, still waiting to be used. And I thought a brighter color might be a fun way to tone a canvas, but not uber bright, not yet. But this one looked really pretty. It's kind of a salmon corally color, and I am going to try one of those paintbrushes that came in the box as well. And the paintbrush itself is fine as far as the bristles go. It's a typical kind of oil paint type of brush, but the paint on the handle is just falling apart. And I did choose to keep this brush for now. And I had a little bit of extra paint that I had squeezed out when I was painting the edges. So I got out my Canson XL watercolor sketchbook and just laid a background of the rest of this paint in that sketchbook for a background for later purposes, which is kind of fun to have to go back to. I also decided to use some of that really big bottle of blue. It's such a gorgeous color, isn't it? I put some of that around the edges in that XL sketchbook too. I just had a little bit too much paint because this paint was much more thin than the paint I had previously used, and they were two different brands. So I have another background page ready in my sketchbook. And then I had a little bit more time before I had to leave for the day, so I did a third canvas. So now I have 3 canvases with the backgrounds ready to be painted on. Now I realize this is mostly a watercolor channel, so this may not interest you, but don't worry, we get into watercolors here a little bit later. But do you tone your canvas? If you are one of the artists in my community that work on canvas, I would love to know. And if you do, what is your color of choice for toning your canvas? The next day I got out my Dina Wakley journal, and if you have not seen that video on my channel, I will link it below. It is a fun journal, a bunch of different surfaces, and I decided to try and challenge myself working on the back side of this linen and then seeing what I could do using up the paint from my paint by number kit, if any of it at all was still good, because if you saw that video, which I will also link below, you know I abandoned using these paint pots and went to using acrylic paint markers instead. So let's see if any of the paint in here is even any good. And since I was in class, I didn't record any of the painting process, but that is the little painting I could get out of whatever I could pull out of the rest of all of these paint pots. So they were pretty much completely dried out. The painting looks fine, but you can see it's a lot of dry brushing because that's really all the paint that was left. And I got a few little more squeezes of paint on the page on the right, but I did bring my Chalkola acrylic paint from my closet because I haven't used that in a couple of years, and I'll finish up that page on the right with the Chalkola acrylic paint. And although I didn't get any footage of that process either, this is the final artwork. That was really fun. The paper on this side happens to be, well, they consider it a watercolor paper, but it's not really sized at all, so the paint will soak through if you use watercolor if you're not careful. So it's great for acrylic and it's great for gouache. On the last day, I have this Himi Mia watercolor palette that I have been trying to use up for 6 years. I have a whole series, a whole playlist about it that I will link in the corner and the description box below. I thought it would be a really good time to get this out and work on it. I thought I would have more time to work on it. In reality, I only finished 1 page, and so I didn't use up much more of this paint, but at least some of those pans are becoming empty. I have this Tobio's Beginner's Watercolor Workbook, which has some printed designs on every other page so you don't have to draw, and this is the one I did for this week. I didn't get to anything else. It has blank pages every other page, and you can see the first page on this one is starting to come out. I used my other little booklet like this to completion for the sketchbook challenge, which I can link for you as well, and it stayed together just fine. So I'm hoping it's just this first page, and I'll have to tape it and keep going with it and hope it stays together. But sadly, again, that was all I was able to do this week. However, I am going to take this with me because I'm going out of town for the next 3 days at the point of videoing this, and I'll take this Himi Mia watercolor set with me. See if I can't use up any more paint. I'll throw this little workbook in there and have something easy to work on and just see what else can get done. But it won't be part of Use It Up week. It'll be part of something else. Well, that pretty much finishes up Use It Up week. I could have painted more with the Himi Mia set. I will, because I still need to use that up and figure that whole experiment out. But for now, we need to check off Use It Up in the schedule and pick next week's item. That's the exciting part. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. Jack, what do you think of these puppies? These are your brothers and sisters. They're evil. Oh, he ran away. Oh, how funny. No loves him. Waylon loves him.
You want to go upside down? Huh?
Good
Go
Lord.
upside down? Okay, let's go upside down.
Oh,
Look at the
oh,
bird.
so cute. Oh, I love it. So precious.